Okay, so this is Coffee and Donuts, the guests talk show. I think this is episode 4. And I'm now going to be talking to someone who's been a big part of the group, the 45 Kings Collective. He's been a big fan of the Twitch stream. He's been actively involved. He then went from being a viewer to being a guest on the show and then being quite a regular guest. And then he came up and did a meetup with us in Edinburgh. So we've got lots to talk about. And he is the one, the only DJ Double P. There he is. How you doing, mate?
Yo, good, mate. You?
I'm really well. We were just talking. We both just got back off holiday, so we're. I think we're both in pretty good spirits at the moment. It seems like forever since I streamed. I was just looking at my decks, going, "Oh, I haven't touched my decks for about 10 days." But yeah, I'll have a bit of a play after we've finished this show. But yeah, so Coffee and Donuts. Obviously, we're hitting our 100th show very soon, and I thought it'd be a good idea, firstly, to talk to the other hosts, Marky and Rob, and then also talk to some of the guests who've been on it and been a big part of it. But let's start with the 45 Kings. We have you've been on my show a couple of times in the past, so we have talked about these things. But let's talk about 45 Kings. So, can you remember how you first became aware of the group, and sort of how you got involved after that?
I think when COVID really locked down, didn't it? And then Sam was streaming a lot, and I can't remember, but I know I started watching it on a Saturday morning, and I remember when you were DJing, but you had a side-on view.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Everyone remembers that. It was sort of over there.
Yeah.
There. Yeah. The camera was sort of. I think camera was
Yeah.
like here, and it was sort of pointing there, and I was
Right. Yeah,
against that wall.
Oh yeah, I'd love to get on there because he had the coffee, the bloke, the old guy eating the donuts as well, the video screen, and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. I had that little video clip, didn't I, of the guy?
Right,
Sort of,
yeah. So
yeah. I remember now.
I remember watching it, but I can't even remember. I remember you and I were talking. I thought we started making connections then on Facebook and Instagram and being quite involved in the chat every Saturday. And then I think me, John, and Gid we merged this three the hard way thing, and then we did
That's
the
right.
first thing, didn't we?
I think you guys did a stream on your own, didn't you?
Yeah.
And then I think I can't remember which way around. I think you might have said, or I might have said to you, do you want to be on the show? Or you said, can we be on the show? And I was like, yeah. And then the three of you came on the show. So before we get to you being on the show, so you'd watched it quite a lot. What was it that attracted you to it? Why did you enjoy the show?
I just think it's how welcoming the group is as well. There's no egos or anything like that, and everyone was quite welcome in the chat as well. And the DJ like yourself, Rob, Fatwax, they're all quite welcoming people. So I mean, I've met you with Fatwax. I haven't met Rob yet, unfortunately, but
maybe next year. Maybe next year.
Hopefully. But I just think, and it was very. I thought it was very professionally done as well. With the people they were having on, and it was well put together.
Okay,
And it was quite an honour to get invited on there because that was quite a big thing for me to like, oh no way, get on the 45 Kings and stream because there's a lot of big DJs on there as well. Top, people have been doing it for a hell of a long time. So,
we've been really lucky with some of the guests we've had. But I think, like you say, one of the things we've always done is we've always been just very open and just anyone who's wanted to DJ, we've encouraged to DJ. It's been people like we've got people like Mark Hype and Robert Smith, like sort of DMC turntablist, all the way down to people like you who hadn't done much DJing out in real life or indeed streaming much before sort of Twitch came along and all the rest of it. So we've sort of encouraged everyone, and I think that's right. It's not a deliberate thing, but we just sort of welcomed everyone who's sort of come along and
really
got into the group.
Really good, really good, really good.
Really and how did you find the sort of the chat as well in terms of the shows and Coffee and Donuts? How did you find that?
What, being in the chat?
Yeah. Because obviously before you were on the show, you're quite an avid viewer and you were watching quite regularly. How did you find the chat?
Yeah, great. I mean, a lot of people that we were making friends were just names, weren't they? So you'd have Kev Clark, I remember when, is it Pete from the in Belfast, did the
Pete Brady,
Coffee and Donuts 12?
Yeah.
You know,
I think
Kev
he's the only one who's
Clark.
ever played a 12.
Yeah, he's the only one who's done it. And Sideshow. It's just so many people. But we, because of lockdown, we were all there.
Yeah.
So we kind of made, you know, a lot of connections with being in that chat. You know what I mean? And a lot of DJs now that have obviously they're doing well in Twitch and things like that. But there was a lot of DJs there that you wouldn't have known who they were had it not been for lockdown.
Yeah.
This
I think
wouldn't
that's
have happened
very
if it wasn't
true.
for lockdown.
Yeah, yeah. I think it certainly introduced me to a lot of DJs who I didn't know before.
No,
And I think with the whole worldwide thing, you know, we've all been introduced to DJs from not just England, but you know, all over the world. You know,
the
DJs
main
that you'd never, you know, people like DJ Bill, DJ
no,
Tiago, you know, maybe even D in Australia, Decal, you know, lots of these DJs that we just probably never would have
no.
necessarily have connected with. You know,
They
you
might have
might have
been,
seen something on Instagram, but not, you know, not in the
yeah,
same way.
yeah. You wouldn't have been able to watch them stream. You wouldn't have been able to chat with them like
Yeah,
because they are friends, you know. But you know, when I talk about it at work, and they're like, "Well, I'm doing a spray train, and you know, we've got people from Brazil and Germany and Australia and America, and you know, they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, it's
yeah,
quite surreal. You know, it's like Groove the Most. I mean, big ups Groove the Most. If you get well soon, mate.
yeah. Get well soon,
Um,
Groove the most. Yeah,
from Philadelphia, and he knows, you know, Jazzy Jeff. We're like,
yeah.
what? You know, people like this you're making connections with, and it's sometimes I think it's a bit surreal, you know, and
It
that's
is, and it's interesting to think. You know, we're saying it probably wouldn't have happened. I mean, it's possible at some point DJs might have jumped onto streaming, but
yeah,
not in this way. Not in this. I
no,
don't think it would have happened in this way. You know, you might
no,
have got the odd DJ jumping on, but you know, like none of the. I don't think the big DJs would have jumped onto it if it
no,
wasn't for lockdown, because they'd be like,
no,
well, I can go out and gig. You know, why am I going to waste my time sort of streaming? And now a lot of them not
yeah,
do better, but a lot of them do as well as they could do if they were out doing gigs. You know,
yeah.
it's amazing the way it's sort of gone. But you mentioned talking to people at work. So how have other people, when you've tried to explain Twitch to them and like the shows that we do, you know, how do they get it? Do they understand it, or
Um,
what's the response?
some of them just look at you in like, yeah, yeah, well, yeah, you know, like Sam with Dave Morales. You know, I say to him, you know, Sam, because I knew Sam before,
Yeah,
you know, because of SGBC, but um, you know, Sam has done some with Dave Morales. And I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, but they don't, you know, it's things like that, you know, and with Dusty Donuts with Mark Hype, Robert Smith, you know, and Jim
yeah,
Sharp, and you know, people like that, you know, they're quite at the pinnacle of, well, you know, they're top people, and you're speaking to them as if
yeah.
they are friends because we've known them now, what, 2.5, is it maybe 3 years now?
Yeah, yeah, it's not far, but that's very true, because obviously Jim Sharp edits I had before, Dusty Donuts records I had before,
Yeah,
and although I knew of them, I'd never sort of, you know, be able to at that point necessarily just sort of message them
no,
and expect any sort of response at that time, because you know I was just, you know, just some DJ, you know, I wasn't anything special or producing or anything, still not, but you know you know what I mean. But it is amazing how Twitch has sort of leveled it, and that we can just message these people and
yeah,
we can call them friends, you know, to an
yeah,
extent. You know, it's, you know, these are
definitely.
people that we've now met. You know, I've met Jim, you know, in
Yeah,
person and stuff like
yeah,
that, and
yeah,
it's been really interesting, really interesting how things are sort of panned out, and we'll see where, you know, we'll see where things go. So yeah, Through the Hard Way. Tell us about
yeah.
that. Who's involved in Through the Hard Way for anyone who doesn't know, and what is it?
So, me, John, and Gid, which is Gid, DJ Gid. He's been on Coffee and Donuts a few times. He doesn't really stream that much because he's got work commitments and he's got horses and things like that. So he's really busy. He's working pretty much all the time.
Right.
So Three the Hard Way was basically it was John's concept on that, and basically we were just going to jump on Twitch and call us Three the Hard Way and just stream. And we still do it. You know, we've done it a few times, not regular because obviously we are. John's got his own thing with back in the day, and he's busy on other things with work and then Gid and as myself. But we do have I think it's always good when you're doing a stream and there's quite a few of you there. I think it's better. It's more of a laugh,
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
bounce off each other as well. Yeah. I mean, so Three the Hard Way came about. Myself, John, and Gid thinking we're going to go on Twitch, we're going to do a stream, we're going to see how it goes, and it's gone from there. Really, not as not as much as what I would like it to, but obviously you've got to factor in other commitments now. So
well, I think what's interesting is as Coffee and Donuts has sort of progressed, it got to a point earlier this year where I'd said to people, do you know another 45er who's in your
yeah,
town, or can you stream back to back? But you guys, I think, were probably the first who did it on the show, and even
yeah,
then it was quite limited because there was COVID rules at that time, and you could only have, I think it may have been three people. I can't remember what the rules were at that point. Maybe
yeah,
three people in the room, so it was all
yeah,
very limited. So you couldn't just like now
yeah,
just go to someone's house and just stream like you can in the UK. So
yeah.
it was quite a novel thing that you guys were doing quite early on in the show, because I
Mhm.
think that was the beginning. That was probably January last
Yeah,
year. I think it was the first show of 2021. I think you guys
I
did
think it
that.
was, mate. Yeah, I think it was.
Um, so that was about about 4 or 5 months into the show, and it
Mhm.
was just about what you could do within the
Yeah,
rules
yeah,
in terms of COVID. But again, like you say, it's so much better and fun having someone else in the room to stream
definitely.
with, because you have a laugh. So you guys have then done that a few times, and
Yeah,
then more recently you went down to Swindon.
yeah,
And there was a kitchen session there that Funky Diabetic Colin
yeah.
put together. So let's talk a little bit about that then. So what was that like, and who was there, and what was the vibe on that one?
Oh, it was brilliant. There was myself, John Musto, Colin, Funky Flavors. You had Matt Baylor. You had that guy from Swindon. You had Fade. You had Monique as well. She was there. Who else? I think that was it. I think. Yeah. So basically, Colin messaged me and said, "Do you want to play with the 45 Kings?" Have suggested that what you just said. Do you want to come up? I'm like, "Yeah, I'll come up." I think Sam was going to come as well, but he had other commitments, so
Yeah, yeah,
he couldn't make it on that one, unfortunately. But we got there, and yeah, it was set up, and again, it was just really good because we were playing our music and having a laugh. And I think you play better when you've got a lot of people and you've got a good vibe going. It wasn't so much where when I stream normally I look at the chat. I wasn't even looking at the chat. John was
yeah,
looking at the chat. I think my phone was dead anyway. I can't remember. But anyway, but you can see it on if you look back on YouTube. I think Colin's got it on his channel, Funky Diabetic, and you
yeah,
can
yeah.
see him messing around because we like bounce off each other. You'll see. Well, you can see anyway. We have a right. I haven't seen him for a couple of months now, but yeah, we have a good laugh. It was really good vibe. Um, couldn't stay. I could only stay till about 5 and had to scoot off to get James. But I think next one's in October. I think we're going
Yeah, I
again.
think there's another. I can't remember the date off the top of my head, but there is another one booked in
Yeah.
for a few hours again. But yeah, it's brilliant just bringing people together. Firstly, online, but then
Mm-hmm.
secondly, actually connecting in the real world. And we'll pause and we'll come back to Edinburgh in a minute. But you
Yeah.
mentioned obviously James. Now, obviously, part of Coffee and Donuts, it will be 100 shows in a couple of weeks. The only reason it's not exactly however many it should be for 2 years is because firstly Christmas and New Year we have off, but also there's been a few times when we've had 45 kids, and
Yeah.
obviously one of the 45 kids is your son James, Minimal P.
Yeah.
So tell us about that then. So tell us about him getting involved in the DJing, and what it's meant to you, and sort of your relationship with him.
Hang on, who's that now? I'm opening the door. No one. Sorry. Just,
It
oh,
might be him. Is he wanting to come in on the show?
Where is he? Is that you, James? No, yeah, he's got a hand on the door. Right. So James, I can't. How did you get it? Come over here a minute. Shadow. He's coming now. Hang on,
Come and
mate.
say hello, Mini P.
Criztoz.
How you doing,
How
James? We were literally just talking about you and about the 45 kids.
did you get into DJing?
It was after your first stream. I remember it. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was watching you play. I was watching him play some records, and then
Just
you
come onto the
let me.
camera a little bit. Let's see you while you're talking.
Hang on, let me move it away. Hang on a minute.
Yeah. Double P. You out. We'll have James for the rest of the show.
Yeah. There you
I
go.
can't do that.
Well, don't touch the phone.
I just remember after his first stream, you went to have a fag, and I just kind of like took over a bit.
Mm-hmm.
You came in, and I was kind of playing about, and it sounded alright. So you gave me. So what happened after that? You let me have a go for a bit. After that, you've got some records that you didn't really want from your collection, and gave them to me.
Yeah.
Granddad bought me some records. Mum gave me some.
Yeah.
And then.
Then you did a review of the S9 on Twitch, didn't you?
I had my first 45 kids.
And you got records off Fat Wax, Danny Banks, Jim Sharp, Sam, Tommy T.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun, hasn't it? And all the 45 kids shows have been great. And the next one is Halloween again, like we did last year. So hopefully everyone will dress up again, and we might have one or two new 45 kids getting involved as well. We haven't been on the streams yet, so that'd be good fun. But what's it been like between the two of you? You know, how's it been like the two of you sort of interacting over music?
Yeah, that's good, mate. Yeah. See, I don't like tell him what he's got to listen to or whatever. He picks his own music. Kids do, don't they? They like what they like. I mean, I bought some records from the SGVC last time I went, and there was one record I didn't really like, but now you've got it. What was it again? Who? Blinding Lights. That was it. As soon as he got it.
I recognised it because Sam gave it to you.
That's right, yeah.
I nicked it.
You nicked it.
Well, all these records have got to go somewhere, haven't they? That's what I keep saying to Zia. She's going to get all of my records at some point if she carries on DJing. If she stops DJing, I'm going to sell them, make some money.
So I have two things of records now.
Two? You do that?
Destiny Donuts thing. And
you got Destiny Donuts back then. John got that for you.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, mate. You can go now.
Okay.
That's great. Thanks, James. Take care. We'll see you on the next 45 Kids stream.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. That's perfect. That's perfect timing. Right. There's a couple more things that we can talk about. Is mental health. Obviously, you inspired me to start part of my journey, which is the mental health show. And obviously, you've been on it a couple of times now. And that was based on something you said to me that James had said to you about, you know, the fact that DJing and Twitch and the community had sort of helped you through depression. So that's been a really important part of the last couple of years. And I think certainly for me, that's the thing, that show and talking to you and talking to all the other guests has been the most important thing that's sort of come out of all of this, you know, really, because we've got men of our age, middle-aged and slightly older, talking about issues that are really important. So how have you found that? And you know, how was it that you felt that it was a safe space enough to sort of approach me and say, yes, this is what James has said, and yes, I will be on and talk about this stuff?
I think sometimes you put I think when you've got mental health issues, a lot of people have got that, but I think sometimes you put not a warning, I can't describe it now, a feeler out. But you know, you know, I think I built a good enough relationship to then start opening up to people like yourself.
Yeah.
You know, with Jim Sharp as well. I chatted with him a few times when I was going through a real bad time. John Musto. I'm just trying to think what else. No, Sam. So you know, it's either you keep it closed in and don't say anything, or you just get out there and talk about stuff, because you'll be surprised on how many people do actually suffer from it. So many people, different ways, different things, they react differently, you know, and you know, it's a big thing, mental health, and you know, it's good to talk about it, and it's talking to the right people as well. You've got to have a circle of trust, you know, and people might think you're nuts, so I don't really care, but you know, I still have a few down days, but not that bad now. Not that bad now.
But I think it's been good because obviously, you know, you got a lot of support off the back of that show, as have all the guests who've been on it. And it's always amazed me the sort of openness and honesty. And I think it's just opened a conversation. And it's brilliant that from a specific format of 45s, we've been able to sort of expand it into something a lot more important in life. Because mental health is really important, and being part of the group and having a hobby, having friends, is all got to be conducive to having good mental health. So again, thank you. I'm always, I always mention that you inspired it, because if it wasn't for you, the show might not exist. So I'm ever thankful and grateful for you for being the first guest with John Mustoe, obviously, and then everyone else who's been on it. But okay, so then let's I'm jumping around a little bit, but obviously you did the thing in Swindon, and then we did the We Love Sevens weekend in Edinburgh, which was brilliant. And let's talk a little bit about the sort of lead up to that, because first of all, it was you might not have been coming, and then you were coming, and then you weren't going to come, and then eventually, thankfully, you did manage to come up on your own. But even that was quite a big thing, wasn't it, coming up from Gloucester to Scotland on your own?
I know. What was it? I think because my wife was trying to get time off. Then she got time off. Then Scotty said that they booked us a room, but it was a room with a load of DJs. And my wife was going, "Well, hang on a minute. It's our wedding anniversary, sharing it with a load of DJs. That's not going to work." And I said, "Okay, fair enough." I get a hotel, and it was like 800 quid. And I'm thinking, "Oh my god!" But because
busy weekend,
because she's in the police anyway, she couldn't. I said, "Well, what we'll do is we'll go away for a weekend, I don't know, somewhere local." But she couldn't put anything on Facebook or whatever. But anyway, so she decided to go back to work because the detective chief inspector gave her the time off, and
right.
she's short staffed, so she decided to go. And she goes, "I think you should go and do it." I'm like, "Really?" She went, "Yeah, do it." So I booked the first train ticket. That got bloody cancelled because of that. I thought, my God. So I spent 880 quid or whatever it was. And then I got a refund, and I thought, I'm just going to book it. So I booked another one, and it was the same train as what Paul was on, eventually. I think the lead up to it was really excited, but the Friday, my God, my anxiety. I think I messaged you saying my anxiety was through the roof. Because I was deep breathing, and I'm thinking, I've got my bag, it's going to be fine. If I get stuck, I'll ask questions at the train station. And so Lynette dropped me off, and I thought, that's it, I've got to go, man. So walked to the station, got on the train. Then I had a phone call for that job offer, which was really funny because I went for the interview on the Thursday night.
That's right,
And then was messaging Scotty Boy on the way to Birmingham New Street, and then I got to Birmingham New Street, and then I got on the train, and I was first class on the train.
I remember you sending the photo. So from being anxious to coming up on your own, you're suddenly traveling first class up to Edinburgh.
First class, and then I said to Paul, "Come up." He's at carriage, whatever, and he couldn't get through. And I thought, I'll go down there. So I walked down there to come and get him, but you just couldn't get through. So we got to Edinburgh, met up with Paul. First time I met him, obviously not first time I met him. I met him on Twitch and raids and things, but not
first time in person. Yeah.
And then we went straight to Super Rico, didn't we? I think we went straight to Super Rico, met you guys, went back, got changed, I think, and then we come back, and that was it. Then it was just full on for 2 days.
It was great because again, you could see there was I'm sure you won't mind me mentioning, but before I think your first set, you were still a bit anxious, and you were sort of trying to do mix the records too quickly. And I think I just said to you, look, just calm down. It's just a bar. We're all here. All your mates are here. You think that you're playing to us. Think you're just playing to Twitch. And then after that first 2 records, you were fine. You were blinded. You played.
Yeah. I remember you slow down.
Yeah. It's very tempting, and I do it sometimes. If I'm starting a set, I'm tempted to just like, right, let's get a mix in, get another mix, and you're like, just chill and just that. And so I need to take my own advice sometimes. But it was great. So that Friday night was pretty chilled and a nice bar.
Mhm.
And then on the Saturday, we all met up and we did coffee and donuts live from Scotty's house.
Yeah.
And again, that was a lot of fun, wasn't it? Like you say, it was, I think we did
Amazing.
3 hours. We had Keith
Good.
Fletcher, Paul
Mm.
Salt, Lee Funky Flavors, Scotty, me and you. We did
Yeah.
sort of like 3 records each and rotate. And similar to what you were saying about Swindon, it was great just hanging out,
Yeah.
playing records sort of to ourselves. You know, I was
Mhm.
doing a little bit of chat and we're checking what the chat was going on, but mainly just
Yeah.
playing records ourselves. And then in between sitting down and having a chat about what was going on in our lives. You know, I
Mhm.
think that was really important.
Yeah. It was really good. It was such a good. I met Graham as well, Ouija, Andy Devine. You know,
Yeah, they were there on Friday. Yeah,
we met Funky Chef's brother as well.
yeah. Malk was there. Yeah, Funky Chef's brother. And then we did it again on the Saturday night. And the Saturday night, you know, the bar had said they wanted it to be a lot more upbeat. And one of the DJs couldn't make it, Panos. And you were meant to be playing last. You're like, oh, you know, can we swap it around? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. So you played early and did a really brilliant house set, and just built it up perfectly. And the night went off. You know, it was cracking. So what was that like for you?
I'll
Having
tell you
gone from
what.
not DJing at all, really, DJing on Twitch, to then being in a you know, quite a decent bar in Edinburgh, you know, a capital
Yeah.
city, playing
Because
to a full crowd.
it was packed, wasn't it? I think the Friday was the warm up, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I would say for me, to settle in really, because you have to settle in. And then I was because I did the closing set on Friday night. I don't think I slept till 4 o'clock on the Saturday morning. I thought I can't do
yeah,
that again because I built it right. You know, I wasn't drinking, was I? So
no, you're
so
on the mocktail.
basically, uh, it was amazing. I think that's probably the best experience I've ever had. I was on such a buzz because I had people, Funky Flavors, Lee come over and said people were walking past you trying to fist bump you, but your head's
Yeah,
down and you're playing. And then I had people in the toilets saying how good the set was in Scottish, but I couldn't understand what they were saying that. And then the guy with the photography was taking a load of pictures.
yeah.
Um, and I could have carried on. I could have carried on. I've never had that. That was such a, for me, that was, I can't, well, from grain level to top level, if there was one, that would be that Saturday night experience, I would call it, was that's, you know, I can't, well, it will get better, obviously, but from where I've gone, from where I've got to, that's top level. That was I keep saying, Scotty boy, can we do it again? Can we do it again? Can we do it again? Can we do it again?
We will. There's slightly bigger plans for next year,
Yeah.
and we'll get it on. I don't think we can do it this year, but we'll do something again next year. But
Um,
yeah, like you say, it's amazing that from a group and from chatting, you know, on a Facebook group and then chatting on a Twitch group and then doing a bit of live streaming to then going and playing a great bar in Edinburgh for a weekend. You know, we took that place
yeah.
over for the weekend, and you know, it was one of the busiest nights they'd had for a while. And it was brilliant. And again, you know, all of us sort of coming together, playing, you know, everyone played really great sets, really great music. People there loved it. Yeah, it just shows that, you know, we've achieved something. You know, if
Definitely.
we don't do anything else from here onwards, I think that weekend is something that will
Absolutely.
stand in time.
It was
And
really good.
it's
The thing is, as well, you don't necessarily when you're there, you don't take it all in, and when you come back
no,
home and you let it all sink in, then you realise
yeah,
just how much of a good weekend that was.
exactly, yeah. And it's good that it's also happening in little pockets in other places, like you say. It happened down in Swindon, and you know, last weekend I was in Glasgow, and you know, we did a little thing, and then I met up with T2 Funk, and we did a thing in Chester and stuff, and you know, all this stuff sort of happening, and it's nice now that we're obviously pretty much back open at
Yeah,
normal. This stuff can happen, and it will carry on happening. You know, as long as venues are happy to give us a platform and let us get on and do it,
yeah.
it will do. And I think every time we've done something, people have, you know, loved it. You know, it's been a really good positive experience on pretty much everywhere we've done.
Definitely.
So that's great. So Yeah, so 100 shows. You've been on quite a few times. You've stepped in early. Sometimes you've done like an early set. You've stepped in and covered for me occasionally.
Yeah.
And no doubt we will carry on. And it's thanks to you. People like you, the viewers first of all, because without the viewers, we wouldn't be here. And then secondly, being a guest. Being a guest on the show, and it's the guests that make it. Me, Marky, obviously Rob before, but obviously less so now. But me and Marky could just play each week. But I think people tune in for us, but also for the guests. And I think the guests make it each week because they all bring.
I think it's the whole thing, isn't it? The whole concept of Coffee and Donuts. It's got a name now, hasn't it? It's got a president, a president's on Twitch.
Yeah.
Or what do you want to call it, but it's got that. So on a Saturday morning, I can tune into Coffee and Donuts, and Criztoz, Flatwax, or Rob will be there, and there'll be, like you say, Mark Lancaster, it'll be, but Funky Flavors. It'll be quite more Paul Soul. There's so many different people,
and it's been amazing seeing everyone sort of come up over the last couple of years because from where we were 2 years ago, from when we started the show, like you say, I was sort of my back to the camera sort of over there or whatever, but again it's seeing all these other DJs like Mark. Mark's now doing with Graham Ouija, who's another person who's been on quite a few times, that they're covering on a Wednesday morning now for a show. They've got Morning Delights, and they're doing that while Hump Day is taking a backseat while Rob deals with other things and he's off on holiday and stuff. But again, it's great that we've been able to say, right, okay, you guys host a show on a weekly show, for a little while, for a few months, and see what happens. And it's great for me to be able to say, right, I've been on holiday and away for the last few weeks, being able to say to people, right, can you cover my slot? And knowing and having the trust that they'll do a really good job, and keep the show going. So again, thank you for that. So it's been a lot of fun the last 2 years, and we will see where we go next year and the year after that. Hopefully it will just keep growing, and we'll just carry on with the show. All the time people are watching it and like it, then we'll carry on.
We definitely appreciate what you, Flatwax, and Rob do. So we that anyway, but we all appreciate it. I mean,
very kind. Thank you.
If it wasn't for the 45 Kings, mate, I had STVC as well, but 45 Kings had put me on that platform. If it wasn't for 45 Kings, I wouldn't have met any of you lot, and we'd be doing what I'm doing now. So from my heart,
that's very true.
Yeah, you meet people like Mark Brand and people like that. What? Really?
Exactly. And we haven't even talked about. We'll briefly mention it. Obviously, you said to me you wanted to do a raid train, and we wanted to do it as part of sort of mental health. And you did most of the hard work. I helped you a little bit as sideshow and other people. But again, we you put together like 3-day raid events. Again, people from around the world. And again, all credit to you. You're like, right, I'm going to do this. It's going to be for mental health. We're going to try and raise some money. We raised some money, and you went out and you contacted people, and you got people involved who were sort of not necessarily part of the 45 Kings group, but part of the Twitch group, and brought people together. So again, that's all credit to you for firstly having the idea, secondly pulling it off. And like you say, again, 2 years ago, who'd have thought that you'd be organising an international live stream DJ event across 3 days?
It's mad. It really is mad. And I'd say also we did that. We did the with John and Fade. We organised the my first 45 vibe DJ event, wasn't it? It was the wrong venue, but it doesn't really matter. It was just experience.
Well, exactly. You've gone from not even having DJ'd much out to actually putting on and organising your own event in real life at a real life venue. And again, that's not easy. That's not easy, because you've got to find a venue, you've got to get the decks there, you've got to get the PA there, get the DJs, promote it, do a flyer. So again, all credit to you. And it's been, for me, it's so great seeing how everyone has sort of grown, alongside the 45 Kings and alongside everything that we're all doing. How we've all sort of improved and got better, and achieving what we're achieving. It's been amazing. It's been amazing. Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Paul. Thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being a viewer. Thanks for being a guest. Thanks for being a stand-in host. Thanks for everything you've done. It's been amazing, and I'm sure we will speak very soon. Take it easy.
Yeah, mate.